tell people we're going to British Columbia. They say, British Columbia, you're going to Vancouver. I said, no, I'm not going to Vancouver. I'm going to the Sunshine Coast. They said, oh, you're going to Victoria, of course. I said, no, I'm going to the Sunshine Coast. The Sunshine Coast, right down there. Underrated, underdeveloped. Most people I know have never heard of it, but you're going to hear all about it today. I think it's one of the most incredible parts of British Columbia, and we're going to explore it today on today's episode of Photowalks TV. The coast is considered the mainland. To reach these inlets, you have three choices: ferry, boat, or plane. And once here, you're looking at a series of small towns on the south and north sides. Vancouver Island, which is home to Tofino and Victoria, is right across the way, right over there. The city of Vancouver is that way. Now, Vancouver Island attracts way more people than the Sunshine Coast does. So if you go to Vancouver Island, expect way bigger crowds. Sunshine Coast, wide open spaces, pretty cool.
A quick word from Mylio with a news flash. Mylio Photos is now free. The app helps you collect all your photos from multiple devices into one place, and now new AI search tools make it way easier for you to find photos from your collection. Mylio's new free app is available at the Google and Apple app stores and at mylio.com.
Vancouver Island, I think it's about an hour and a half ferry ride, whereas this is just 40 minutes.
The name the Sunshine Coast began as a marketing gimmick in the 1950s. Here's the reality. You'll see as much rain here as you will in Seattle and Vancouver and the rest of the Pacific Northwest, but without that rain, it wouldn't be so green and lush, right? We'll start in Gibsons, the traditional beginning of any Sunshine Coast tour, as it is very close to the ferry exit. Along the way, we'll go up the coast to Roberts Creek and Seachelt, Ruby Lake, Egmont, and the Skookumchuck Falls Rapids. Then we'll board a second ferry to get to the northern section of the coast, exploring Powell River, Lund, and the remote, not-so-deserted island of Savary. For now, let's begin in Gibsons and the top photo spots here. Gibsons is known for a wonderful marina, cute downtown, and as the setting for an old Canadian TV show, The Beachcombers. Best thing to do here is walk down the wharf or hit the beach. Photographically, I love shooting a time-lapse of the marina and watching the sky turn red, something I'm not used to seeing back home.
Somes. So Somes is definitely one of the really common social media posts, people climbing the top of that. A lot of stairs, so bring your Advil. I bring my Advil every time.
The road to the top is a major climb, and it's going to take you a good 35 to 40 minutes to get up there. But what a view.
Here in Gibsons, there's one called Gospel Rock. It's one of the most spectacular views.
The trail to get to the Gospel Rock overlook is less steep, and while I love both overlooks, for me, nothing beats sunsets by the sea. The marina's fantastic, and seeing the lights twinkle over the boats, great, but I routinely saw richer colors by the beach or Bonnybrook Lodge at the appropriately titled Bonnybrook Beach.
Just beautiful views wherever you look.
Looking across the way to Vancouver Island just can't be beat. If I had to pick the one photo spot for Gibsons, this would be it. It's also really cool in the morning for post-sunrise. Right up the road is Roberts Creek, a cute small town best known for two things: a community mandala art project and a wonderful pier with great British Columbia views. Speaking of piers, the most photogenic in the area is this stunner up the road in Davis Bay. Besides gawking at the pier, people also come here to swim, fish, and just walk by the shoreline. Then it's up the road to Seachelt, which is the largest city on the south side of the Sunshine Coast with over 10,000 residents. Here you'll find larger stores, a cute hometown, a pier that will take you to the edge of the water, and a wonderful ice creamery named EB's.
People really like ice cream cones here. Is that true?
They love ice cream cones here, especially here at Evie's Ice Cream
Is it
Shop.
true that you have the best ice cream? Because I think that's what it says on your card. Or
It
what's
is-
your qualifier?
It is true.
What's your qualifier?
It's the best ice cream on the Sunshine Coast.
All right.
And it
Has
happens to be-
anybody ever challenged you?
Not yet.
No, okay.
No, not yet. So
And
that's
what's the most popular flavor in Seachelt?
salted caramel,
Salted caramel.
hands down.
Next stop is Ruby Lake. This is a small resort area with boats and kayaks available for rent, a very authentic Italian restaurant, and some of the best sunsets I've ever seen. Does the sky look ruby red or what? Now try booking a room at the Ruby Lake Resort way in advance because they go fast. Now let's talk Skookumchuck. Just a few kilometers up the road is Skookumchuck, one of the main attractions of a Sunshine Coast visit. Simply put, here's where twice a day the tide changes and reverses directions. Besides onlookers and photographers like us, it also attracts extreme kayakers who enjoy keeping up with the currents. The meaning of Skookumchuck, by the way, is fast water in the native language. Be sure to check the tide table charts before you come. They are posted all over town and at visitor centers. You will want to time your visit accordingly, but know that the tide action will start up 30 minutes before the advertised time and continue 30 minutes on the other side as well. To get to the rapids, you'll take an hour hike down to the water, and one highlight of this walk is the great bakery in the woods that specializes in cinnamon buns, coffee, and other baked goods. Now, speaking of food, after your hike, there are two great restaurants just down from your parking spot in Egmont. Back Eddy has a great view of the marina, but speaking of views, the best lunchtime view I've ever seen from a resort deck was at the West Coast Wilderness Lodge. This is highly recommended. From here, it's time for another ferry ride.
We're now on the north side of the Sunshine Coast, which is notable for really two cities. However, one of them is the largest actually on the Sunshine Coast. It's Powell River, where we are right now. There's 15,000 people here. And then up the road, there's Lund, which is pretty small, and it's your gateway to Savary Island, which you will see shortly. Besides a lot of boats and trees and water, there's a lot of great hikes here in a historic old town where they still make paper. It's kind of a fun place to visit en route to the end of the road, which we'll see shortly. So Powell River, before you get there, make sure to check out the many hiking opportunities all over the area. Visit the old historic downtown, which is home to the oldest continually running movie theater in Canada, the Patricia, as well as the old Courthouse Inn, a small hotel that is the former home of the Court Police Station and Jail. Otherwise, downtown is full of galleries, craft shops, and if you're into sausage, there's a wonderful shop that has many, many varieties. Be sure to check it out. There's myriad water activities and a beautiful walk by Willingdon Beach, which is adjacent to the downtown district. If it's berry season, you'll find lots of free berries by the side of the road. Now, Powell River is a transportation hub. It's here where you can catch a seaplane to Vancouver or Victoria, or take the ferry straight across to Vancouver Island and the small town of Comox. But photographically, the most impressive thing about Powell to me was the sunsets. The further north that I got on the Sunshine Coast, the richer and more dramatic the colors got. Which of course made the ferry ride up here well worth the time and trouble. Now before we close out the road in Lund right up the way, it's time for a quick photo tip break. I'd like to go over my techniques for getting some of those cool shots from my mobile cameras like an iPhone 13 Pro Max and that crazy Insta360 One X2. Now that's how I'm standing atop the world when photographing the mandala in Roberts Creek. The Insta360 is a 360 camera with two lenses photographing the front and back of me at the same time. This is what the actual footage looks like before it goes into the editing app, where you have the choice of going full 360 or regular 16:9 for widescreen movie. There's a tab in the app to provide this wild view.
Now the sunset was nice, but I like richer colors and something else to look at in the image beyond the sky like a silhouette. And that's easy to do by opening the camera app menu, going to exposure control, and bringing it down all the way. When you do that, the colors get richer. The flip side is getting rid of distractions in your sunset. I did not want the boating store building in my shot from the deck of a Powell River restaurant. So I used my feet. I moved around the building for a better angle. I wasn't really seeing it until I clicked the third lens, the telephoto, to try and eliminate the distractions and just see the good stuff. And I think it worked. Totem poles are another great object to get tight with. I mean, they're great, they're huge, but they're hard to pop in a photo because they are so tall, like the Eiffel Tower, except you want to see the characters. So my solution is just come in close on one of them instead of showing all those totem folk. This is way more impactful, don't you think? The flip side of getting tight is going really wide when you've got a giant sky with tons of clouds. Just use the smallest lens, the ultra wide, and show as much of the sky as you can. And despite what I just told you about getting tight for the Powell River sunset, I always try in general to go as wide as possible for sunsets and skies, as long as I don't have motorboat buildings in my shot. Now you can't really lose photographing the fast-moving waves of Skookumchuck Falls. I got them in every direction and speed, but here's another case where the bonus of slow-mo in our smartphone camera apps come in really handy. The movement of the waves looks so much more dramatic this way, and capturing it is so easy. You just open up the camera app, you click slow-mo, and you pick up 10 to 15 seconds worth of footage, and it looks absolutely awesome in an Instagram Reel or YouTube Short, particularly when you're mixing it with other footage. Hey, where did my selfie stick go? That Insta360 camera has software that makes the stick automatically disappear. Weird, huh? When you're on a deserted beach with ladders, wooden huts, and the like, it just calls for black and white. It's a more dramatic shot than color and way more evocative, and it certainly helps you stand out in social media this way.
Sunsets obviously are a great way to get attention in social media. My sunset from Soames Hill looked pretty cool, but I think I made it look even better with a free app from Adobe called Lightroom. All I had to do was adjust the sliders by boosting the blacks and dehazing the sky. What do you think?
Finally, when shooting a scenic landscape like a sunset shot, don't forget to look for the reflections because they add so much to the photo. In this Ruby Lake image, for instance, we not only got the red skies, but we got the added bonus of red reflections in the water, which just isn't something that you see every day. For more detail on all these tips, please go to the blog section of our PhotowalksTV.com website. Now, back to the road trip.
Come to the end of the road or the beginning of the road, depending on how you look at it. Route 101, which goes all the way from Lund, British Columbia, down to Chile. Now, if you want to continue exploring the Sunshine Coast, you're going to have to be on the water. It'll take you all the way to Alaska. Now, speaking of boats, we are about to head on a water taxi across the water to the remote, almost deserted, but not really, island of Savary, which is such a photo-worthy excursion. It's right over there. Be sure to check out our blog post all about the Sunshine Coast at the blog section of our PhotowalksTV.com website.
Don't tell anybody, but it's a little tiny piece of paradise.
They call Savary Island Hawaii of the North. The beaches are very reminiscent of Hawaii or some other place like that. Big stretches of white sand for kilometers and kilometers.
Savary, which has just about 100 full-time residents, is up the coast from Vancouver, and it will take you 2 ferries and a water taxi to get here. Or if you come from Vancouver Island, just 1 ferry and a water taxi.
There are no hotels or condos on Savary, fancy restaurants, or served Mai Tais, no mail service, no FedEx, no Amazon, no mayor, no visible police force. And as far as retail goes, not much. There's a general store that's open year-round, and in the summer you'll see a bike rental shop, pizzeria, and a handful of food trucks. What to do on the island? Well, go to the beach, enjoy island life, bike ride, and of course, take lots of photos.
Photographically, if you enjoy island sunrises and sunsets and capturing memories of summer that will remind you of your childhood, well, Savary's the place for you.
Vancouver Boulevard is the main road that goes all over the island. The access roads bring you down to the beach. Just head down those side roads and welcome to paradise.
I've spent my whole summer here, every summer. It's very, some people would say rustic, I suppose, or remote. There's no infrastructure, there's no hydro or power or anything like that. Yeah, it's a great place to be.
We first visited in 2010, and 12 years later, there are some changes. There's more people here now.
So it's grown and grown and grown over the years.
Yeah, the numbers have quadrupled in terms of people that live here, and like a 200% increase in year-round residences. So the island has definitely changed, even in my short 24 years of being alive.
The best way to see Savary is by foot or by bike. It's not like there's a lot of alternatives, right? There is a bike shop in town that will rent you bikes and take you to these wonderful, quiet, deserted roads that lead all over the island, as well as those access roads that bring you to the beach, like Patricia Crescent right here.
When I asked about the best sunset spot, well, that would be Indian Point, 5 miles down the road from the boat dock. That's all the way on the other side of the island. Good news, my newfound friends Joan and Larry thought that might be a little far to go on a bike because I'd be riding back in pitch darkness. So nice people that they are, they agreed to offer us a ride and join us for the sunset.
I have been here a couple of times for sunsets, and they are amazing.
Why here versus the other side of the island?
Because this is the most westerly point of the island, so we're looking due west.
For sunrise, check out the beach down Patricia Crescent, which is just up the road past the market. It was awfully quiet and colorful when we went down there.
Making new friends on the island is easy to do. I love jamming with Larry in his island studio.
Have you been to other Canadian islands?
I have been to some other ones, yeah, especially in this area.
How does this compare?
This is the only island entirely made of sand. The other ones are all rock, like glacial rock and things like that. So though there are similarities in like the type of trees and stuff, nothing compares to Savary Island.
What if somebody stabs somebody or something?
Oh,
no-
we have the RCMP. They're governed by us, and,
They're here?
they come. They usually come on a long weekend, and they will come here. We also have, if it was a really super emergency of some kind, the Coast Guard will respond too.
Has there ever been a murder here?
I don't think so.
Apparently back in the 1700s.
Oh, okay. In the 1700s, there was a murder.
Apparently rumor
Apparently.
has it.
Yeah.
Okay, you leave the doors open and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, there is petty theft on the island. The biggest thing that
Everybody
gets
watches
stolen.
it. It's a small community. Everybody
Yeah.
watches out for
The biggest thing that gets stolen on the island is firewood.
Sad to say, but it's time to head back to the mainland. We booked 3 days here for our visit, which we thought would be plenty, but it wasn't long enough. We wish we had been a week or even longer, and I think that's exactly what we'll do next year. I'm Jefferson Graham. Thank you for watching PhotowalksTV. Please be sure to check out the blog section of our PhotowalksTV.com website for a complete post with more information about Savary Island. Be sure to subscribe to the jeffersongraham.substack.com newsletter for the latest tech meets photo meets travel. And I'll see you on the next photo walk. Bye-bye, everyone.